The Woods of Madness. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by JonnyDreamer. The substance used, LSD, at a dose of 10 hits. That's an estimated 1250 to 1500 micrograms. For his prior experience, his experience with LSD, and the setting, in the woods and the beach. Alright, so we got a very strong acid trip today. Johnny and his friend were both looking for a powerful tripping experience, and having done 8 tabs before, they decided to go for 10, and go trip in the woods and on the beach. Things quickly turn the other cheek though, and things don't go in their favor, or as expected. It's a unique report, especially with Johnny's solution to the situation, and how they end up getting treated later on in. It's one I'm sure you'll enjoy, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Me and my buddy decided to make a plan to head to the beach and enjoy the last warm day of the year. We planned to get together in mid-October and enjoy it. We have been getting together every few months to take a trip on psychedelics and chill, and we had some really intense, deep and interesting times. We were looking forward to this one just like all the rest. We planned on dosing with LSD. So when the day came, I spent the morning getting prepared, popping some new tires on my car, picked up some sandwich fixings and bananas, picked my buddy up, and off we went. We headed out to the beach, about an hour's drive away from our town. We stopped for chili dogs on the way, then hurried up and made it to the beach. When we got there, my buddy pulled out the LSD. We talked about how much we would take. We had a total of 25 hits, along with a big vial loaded with a gray area psychedelic known as d.o.c. He suggested maybe we mix the two, but I thought that was a bad idea. Then he suggested, how about we just take 10 hits each? Dang, I thought. Go hard or go home. But we had taken 8 hits together before, and it went really well. And I know for me personally, and for him also, I imagine we can handle this. My mind is a time with psychedelics, so I thought, this should be fun, let's go. So we both downed the 10 hits, got out the car, and started walking the shoreline. The wind was blowing pretty hard as we walked, and the waves on the beach were massive. It was really incredible. As we walked, it started to kick in very rapidly. Everything started shuddering in my vision. Everything became trailers. Visuals were super intense and vibrant. My buddy suggested we wear our sunglasses to cover up our pupils, so we tossed them on. We walked around back and forth, and then back to the car. By the time we got into the car, about an hour had passed, and we were starting to peak. And it felt just amazing. I played some music, and we talked, laughed, and joked around in the car for a while. I am not sure how much time passed. We were tripping incredibly intensely, and everything was a blur of colors, trailers, and vibrant lights. But as I said before, mentally, I could handle it. As we walked, it started to kick in very rapidly. My buddy shuffled through his backpack, going through all the things he had. I said to him, well, hey, maybe we can get out now and go take a walk through the woods and explore. So we got out of the car. I loaded up my backpack with bananas and stuff that I had brought. He pulled out a pair of googly-eyed goggles, the ones with the slinkies on them. The wind was blowing so hard, and they were blowing all over the place in the wind. Tripping balls on all that LSD, with the trailers, colors, and flashing lights, it was one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my life. I was dying. He put the goggles away, and we loaded up and head out. First we went on top of this large hill, facing out toward Lake Michigan. The wind was blowing so hard, and the waves were huge. It was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. The energy was so electric. A massive wave engulfed a lighthouse that was right in front of us, and swallowed it whole. As the wind was blasting in my face, I shouted, "This is what it feels like to be alive!" It was absolutely incredible. We began to head down from there and into the woods. I asked my buddy if he knew how to get around out here. He said, "What did you say? Huh?" So I lead the way. We entered straightway into the woods. We walked for about 2 minutes into the woods, and things started getting weird. Really weird. My buddy started scrambling around and running in front of me. All the trees together with all the trailers made it hard to see what was going on. The further we got into the woods, the weirder, the creepier it got. It felt like something was chasing us, or following us, or looming over us. My buddy began freaking out and running from me, as if I were chasing him. At the same time, I began to hear singing. I can't tell if it was in my mind, or in my ears, or both, but it sounded like a coven of witches singing a very malevolent chant all around me. My buddy stopped in front of me, and I said to him, "Bro, if we saw a witch out here, I wouldn't be surprised at all right now." I then heard, along with the sound of the witches singing their chant, a very creepy cackling laugh all around us. It felt like a looming presence was all around us, and at this point, we were totally lost. It felt like we were Hansel and Gretel lost in the witch's woods, and we were being lured into a web of madness. The energy of the cackling witch all around us was the energy of a spider, a demonic spider witch. That is the only way I can describe what I felt, and it felt like we were being lured into the pit of insanity. My buddy at this point was scrambling around in terror in front of me, and we were totally lost at this point. The name of the actual woods we were at, in the state park we were at, was known as the Devil's Kitchen. We were beginning to figure out why that was. It was as insane and horrifying as it can possibly get, but I managed to stay strong within myself, as my buddy was falling apart at the seams. He ran in front of me, and I chased after him until we eventually bursted out of the woods and into a clearing. As we came out, the energy changed, and the singing, chanting, and laughing stopped, and we were in the clear again. I came over to him and said, "Bro, what the hell was that? What just happened in there? That was absolutely insane." He looked at me and said, "What? What do you want from me? Who are you?" And he darted as fast as he could away from me in terror. Oh God, help me, I thought. I chased after him. He was running at the speed of light. I saw him jump a massive fence. I couldn't figure out how to get around it. Eventually I did, and I found myself back in the parking lot where my car was at. I went over to my car, and my buddy was inside. He had a big twisted grin on his face, looked like a man possessed. I said, "Bro, are you okay?" He was like, "Oh yeah man, I'm fine. I'm just in here." He was playing around in the driver's seat of my car with the window, cranking it up and down. I got in the passenger side and found out that he was definitely not fine. He did not know who I was. He was digging around in his pockets, and then he pulled out a switchblade. His face looked all twisted, a mix of confusion and something else I can't explain. He opened the knife and he said, "What should I do with this?" I said, "Put it away." He started laughing and pointing it in my direction. "Well, I don't know," he said. "I feel like I should use it. What would happen if I used it?" I got out the car and realized I was flying high on 10 hits of LSD, dealing with an absolute lunatic wielding a knife. I walked away for a minute, trying to think of what I should do. I came back to the car and stood outside the window. He had dropped the knife and was going into a state of total disarray. I said, "Are you gonna be alright, bro?" He scrambled around in a state of confusion and terror. Then he jumped out of the car and ran toward the beach, and fell down onto his knees. I ran after him, and my vision went totally blood red. Everything was blood red. I began to hear a foghorn sound like you would hear in horror movies that create the mood of fear. Again, even after all this, I didn't let it faze me. I tried to calm him down, but he was an absolute madman at this point, rambling a mix of confused words and malicious, nasty, evil talking words like a man possessed. He then ran back to the parking lot, fell face down on the cement, and started squirming all over the place. I began to think, either one of two things happened. He dosed that d.o.c in the car when we were chilling, which I wouldn't be surprised. He's certainly a hedonist. Or his mind cracked in the woods. Or both. Either way, I had to find a solution, because families and children were all around at the beach now, and we were about to be totally screwed as he was behaving like a raving lunatic. So I quickly devised an escape plan. Call 911 and tell them we took the d.o.c. So that was exactly what I did. The police came, and I explained to them that my friend had brought some d.o.c with him, which is a gray area research chemical, and that I took a drop of it, but he must have took a massive amount behind my back because he lost his mind. I had to devise a plan because I wasn't about to admit we took a Schedule 1, and it worked. The plan worked. I wore my sunglasses and the police were super friendly and helpful to me. They were my heroes, really. And the ambulance came to scoop my buddy up in his absolute state of total madness. I crafted the best story I could to keep us both in the clear from any legal issues. Man, I was so fortunate. My brain was working like a wizard, dealing with the cops on 10 hits of L. And with the sunglasses. Oh man. The whole situation went super smoothly. They scooped him up and whisked him away to safety. I asked the officer if he can give me a ride to McDonald's, so my mom can get me, because I didn't feel safe driving and I wanted her support. My mom worked in the area, so he kindly brought me to McDonald's. Sailing high as a kite on 10 hits of L, he even offered to buy me a cheeseburger. Nice. I got to McDonald's and waited for my mom. I closed my eyes and listened to music. I had the most amazing closed-eye visuals of this beautiful purple world of women dancing, and I was lost in it. It was amazing. My mom picked me up. I told her what had happened, and she was just glad I was safe. She took me to her work, and I hung out in the backseat of her station wagon. I looked at this picture of a monkey smoking a cigarette, and it was amazing. It was transforming into some of the most beautiful artwork I had ever seen in my life. He was wearing the Star-Spangled Banner in his hair, and then he would transform into some kind of eternal golden age future god. And then he would transform into an elephant, and moss would grow out of him. And then he would transform into something that looked incredibly ancient, and I saw what looked like the history of the human race unfold in his skin and hair. Empires rise and fall. Persia, Rome, America. It was insane. The most beautiful artwork I had ever seen in my entire life was in the picture of this ape smoking a cigarette. I will ask for it to be the cover photo of the story. I previously looked at this picture of other people on high doses of LSD, and everyone I have shared it with sees the same type of things unfolding in this image. It's the most amazing thing I have ever seen in my life. It was incredible. I highly recommend you try it. So, I looked at the monkey for about 3 hours in the car and was totally fascinated in every way. Just in awe. After that, my mom got out of work and drove me to my car. The LSD had completely worn off at this time, and I was just glad to be alive. But for some reason I was super anxious and scared to go back to my car. It was so creepy out there. But I got in my car and took off from the beach. Sayonara, sucker! Got home, told my brother about it, and went to bed. A few days passed, and I got in contact with my buddy when I felt like the heat died down. I had noticed he posted a picture of a new knife he had bought on his Facebook 2 days after this had happened. It was a knife that was all tribal and creepy, and it had spiders all over it. Totally freaked me out to see him post that. When I got a hold of him and talked to him about it, he told me he had an out-of-body experience and that he was kinda mad I called 911 and said I probably could have handled it in a better way than that. But I definitely did not agree. I did what I had to do. I asked him, what happened in the woods, bro? And he responded, damn arachnid witch. And that was all he wanted to say about it. So I guess he felt what I felt too. Craziest trip of my entire life, by far.